Yeah, we didn't really see that one coming, did we? The Illuminate are invading Super-Earth. They have created a massive battle fleet to come invade Super-Earth, and there's a lot to get into today. There's new Illuminate enemies. There's safe troopers you can fight alongside. There's wild new story elements. Get ready to tune in, because we're going to break this all down. But before we do, I'd love if you hit that subscribe button down below, because it really is the best way to support my channel. And now let's get into it. But first, let's talk about what even is happening here, because you're probably as shocked as I am that the Illuminate are invading Super-Earth. How could this possibly have happened? Well, it turned out. So over the last few months, the Meridian Singularity, it's been flying at Super-Earth. It's been destroying planets along the way. And I'm sure the Illuminate would have been perfectly happy if this was what actually did Super-Earth in. If they were able to use this black hole to suck up Super-Earth and just destroy it. But they had a backup plan, it turns out. This was not their main plan all along. That was actually just a diversion. And man, it was a good diversion because it ate up a whole ton of Super-Earth's resources, and now there is a massive Illuminate invasion fleet here. And this invasion fleet is called the Great Host, and it is made up of a new Illuminate ship we've never seen before. The Overship, it's called. It almost looks like a giant jellyfish, and it is far larger than just the warp ships we were seeing before that were offloading little Illuminate onto the planets. This thing looks to be larger than the Super Destroyers, which is quite scary. The massive size of these overships likely mean that they are acting like super destroyers for the Illuminate. They're providing air support, they're providing orbital bombardment, they're using things that only the Helldivers had before. Even the automatons didn't get this type of technology. And terrifyingly, as I said, that yes, the Illuminate now do get air support, much like the Helldivers do. Because there is two new Illuminate ships. You've got the Stingray and the Leviathan. And first, we're going to break down that Stingray. The Stingrays here are a very fast ship that buzzes around the skies of Super-Earth cities now, and they act very similar to the Helldivers' Eagles that they use. They actually operate very similarly with a strafing run like from the Eagles. They'll zoom by super fast, you'll see them coming in, they'll loop around once they've acquired their target, and they'll come in real slow to do a strafing run across the entire area where the Helldivers are fighting. Now, while these Stingrays sure seem like light attack craft, and it would be reasonable for them to be showing up in the earlier probing attacks of the Illuminate, I bet that these Stingrays are not capable of faster than light travel. So they had to be carried in some sort of large carrier like the overships that are now popping up, and they did not fit inside of the warp ships before. But again, as I mentioned, this is not the only air support that the Illuminate now have. They also have the Leviathan, which is a much bigger airship, and it kind of acts more like a bomber/attack helicopter. It hovers around through the battlefield and shoots cannons at you from afar, and if you ever get too close to this thing and get under it, it's going to start dropping giant plasma bombs on you. And again, very similar to Stingray, I think the reason we never saw these before in the early probing attacks is they are not capable of fast and light travel, and again, are carried up on those giant overships. But the Illuminate don't just have new spaceships on their side. There's lots of other enemies. If you've been down there fighting on Super-Earth, and you should be, and even if you're watching this video right now, you better be playing Helldivers on the side and fighting off the enemies of Super-Earth, because if you care about the game and you're watching this video, so I know you care about the game, go fight the Illuminate. Watch the video on the side. If you got a second monitor, or put it on your phone or TV or something, fight the Illuminate. Okay, back to the story though. Flesh mobs, they're here, they're disgusting. These are like giant piles of voteless that got all smashed together. It looks to be like 5 or 6 of them combined into one horrific bipedal blob of flesh. This thing is disgusting. But as disgusting as this is to look at, and what an atrocity against democracy it is, this gives us a very interesting insight into the process of creation for the voteless. Obviously, voteless were horribly disfigured and morphed humans. Something happened to them that made them become this monstrosity with claws and whatnot. And this here gives us some insight into what happens when that process fails. So, more likely than not, when the Illuminate were first perfecting how to make these voteless, they were capturing single humans randomly and sampling on them and trying to get them to turn into these voteless. And once they did that successfully, they're like, all right, we have this narrowed down, let's see if we can scale it up a little. Then maybe they did 10 at a time. And then they were like, okay, if we want this to be our main frontline fighting force, we need a ton of them, because they can't hold weapons or anything. They're just going to run around and start slapping people, so we need a ton. They may have moved up to 100 at a time, 1,000 at a time. And, you know, if you're mass-producing things that quickly and at that large of a scale, there's going to be failures. And more likely than not, they probably just swept these failures off to the side and like, all right, that one's trash, just put it in the pile. And that pile of disgustingness they created, with all the chemicals and radiation, and who knows what else they're using to create these voteless, likely morphed all these guys together into one giant pile. And at first, I'm sure the Illuminati are like, oh god, what is that thing? That's disgusting. Put it down. Get rid of it. Light it on fire or something. But now that they've created this massive invasion fleet and they are desperate for forces to take out Super Earth, they probably realize they could use those flesh mobs. So maybe they keep them caged up and they're just releasing them onto Super Earth now. If you thought it was bad to be turned into a vote list, then this thing is horrifying. This thing is 10 times worse than turned into a vote list. You can turn it into a pile like 7 vote lists morphed together. And this thing is tanky. It has a ton of health. It'll eat anti-tank shots. It's got a monstrous amount of health. But there is one last new Illuminate to discuss, because they did not just start getting air cover. They did not just create more amalgamations of flesh. They also have a new Overseer variant. They have something called the Crescent Overseer now that acts kind of like a mobile mortar emplacement. These things are actually very similar to the Biospewers from the Terminids. They run around the battlefield with a very large cannon and they lob plasma shots over walls to where the Helldivers are fighting. And they're terrifyingly accurate with these plasma shots. If you're standing still, you're probably going to get hit with them. But not only that, if you get close enough to them, they'll just aim directly down, look at you, and shoot you in the face. So that's less than ideal as well. And these guys are very tanky as well. They're very new to the battlefield. I'm not sure if anyone's done the math on the armor on these guys, but just to me at least, they feel much tankier than the other Overseers that I've had to fight in the past. The floating ones, the ground ones, these things need to take much more of a beating than the others. Oh, and somehow, I'm not quite sure how I didn't mention this up to this point. Yeah, the Illuminate totally lit Mars on fire. It's destroyed, it's done. All the Siege training centers on Mars, gone. No more Siege training happening there. It's just, Mars is completely destroyed. So that's, not good. But this is not entirely doom and gloom. It mostly is, because the Illuminate are invading Super Earth, so it's mostly doom and gloom. But there is a positive note here. Finally, after an entire year of asking for it, after lots of secret testing we've thought's been going on, we can finally fight alongside Seaf Army soldiers. That's right, there is Seaf soldiers on the ground with the Helldivers helping fight off these Illuminate. We've always known they've been generally around the battlefield, but now we finally get to fight directly alongside with them in missions. They're helping take out Illuminate. They're mowing down the vote list. They're getting the citizens out of the fray. For the most part, except for this one group of Seaf soldiers that I saw on a mission who threw a grenade directly at their own feet and blew up the civilians. But you know what? It's the price of democracy. I don't know. That guy kind of sucked. But you can finally fight alongside the Seaf soldiers. And I hope we get to see more and more of them throughout the game as these get added in. Hopefully this is just the first we see of the Seaf. I'm hoping they add in, like, them driving around jeeps, them driving around tanks, because all you see so far right now is them just walking around in squads. But these squads bring up some very interesting information about this Seaf army structure, because we can take a look at them, and so far in my experience of fighting on a few missions, the biggest they seem to get is squads of 8. But this is much larger than the Helldiver squad of 4 that drops in at max. This kind of leads you to believe a different structure in the Seaf army. The Helldivers are meant to be special forces that drop in behind enemy lines, so they stay in smaller groups so they can stay more coordinated and get their mission done. Whereas the Seaf army is the frontline fighting force, so they operate better with larger groups that can stay together and form a defensive line. This is why you're seeing them running around in large groups. And you'll also notice that, like, when they see the Helldivers, they're like, yeah, oh, those are the cool guys, let's fight beside them. And they'll kind of, like, work with you, and, like, whatever you're trying to do, they'll fight alongside you to get it done. They understand who's in charge here at the Helldivers, obviously, because we're the best. But if you see these blue guys running around in armor, don't mow them down, they're friends. And speaking of that, there's some more friends running around the battlefield, but they're not going to help you, because there is just random loose civilians running around the streets of Super Earth, which makes sense, and I'm very glad they added to the game. It makes the cities feel so much more alive and real as you're trying to defend them. It's not just some barren city you're fighting in. This is truly Super Earth. There is the Super Earth citizens running around and praying to manage democracy or whatever they do in their free time. And, I'll tell you, I didn't know they were there in the game at first. So when I dropped in my first mission, and I was like, oh, there's a whole bunch of movement over there. I'm gonna throw an Eagle airstrike at it. Yeah, the result was quite scarring. So watch out for the civilians as well, and try to defend them if you can, because they're around, and they're the citizens of Super Earth, and of course, possibly the future Helldivers. But we're going to keep this short and sweet today because that's really all we know so far. We're only a couple days into the invasion of Super Earth, which is insane to say. And I'm sure we're going to learn a ton more about these new Illuminate, a ton more about the Seath soldiers fighting alongside us, and a ton more about Super Earth itself. And oh boy, get ready, stay tuned, because I'm going to be cooking up some great lore videos for you guys. And speaking of which, if you enjoyed this video, I'd love if you like down below, a comment for your thoughts on what's happening in the game right now, and consider subscribing to stay tuned for more as we learn more about this Illuminate invasion. Thanks, and I'll see you guys next time.